Good. We're continuing now the Dvar Malchut, the speech that the Lubavitcher Rebbe gave in 1992. And in it, the Rebbe is explaining why it is necessary in the Torah to repeat the Ten Commandments. We have it in this week's Torah portion, which is in like the middle of the book of Exodus. And we have, again, at the end of the Torah, right before Moses takes the Jews into Israel, he repeats the whole Torah and repeats the Ten Commandments. And there are certain changes that are made. So the Rebbe explains in general, this is talking about two aspects of the Torah. One aspect of the Torah is that the Torah is pure godliness and is brought into the world. And it's just purely holy, and it elevates us Jewish people above the world and to not have anything to do with the world whatsoever, except as far as Torah goes. You know, you have to eat food. So in order to be strong, to learn Torah, you have to have a house. So in that, as far as that goes, we learn Torah, but we should be, like it says, a chosen people separate from everybody else. That's the Torah was given here. But that's not really, that's only one half of the picture. That's not really what God wanted when he gave the Torah and when he created the world. God wants the Jews to be here to perfect the world, just like Adam was supposed to perfect the world, and he didn't do it. So God wants us to do it, and that's why he gave us the Torah, to perfect the world even more. So this ability to perfect the world means you have to be involved in the world. You have to be involved in the world, of course, according to the Torah. You have according to the Torah, but as much as possible to be involved in and to utilize properly the things in the world, for instance, the different languages of the world. So a Jew is in France, so he speaks French. Jew is in whatever, he speaks that language. That language elevates that language that he's speaking. A Jew, let's say the non-Jews, they have of the customs, right? In Mexico, you wear a sombrero. In whatever is in it's the other places you wear whatever it is, the kilt, who knows what, right? If it's not against the Torah, then it's a thing you can do also, right? America, they go to baseball games, football games. You can get interested in baseball and football, right? If you're a person that doesn't sit and learn Torah all the time, so you can get interested. Why? Because then when you're speaking with someone in the street about 7 Noahide commandments, or just doing a favor for somebody, or just being nice to people, so you can say, wow, what a game yesterday was. At least you know what it is. It's not that you have to do these things, but it's a thing that you should try to. Oh, shalom, Paul. Shalom, Paul. So as much as possible to be involved in the country where you're in, is that elevates the country, it elevates the people, it elevates the world. And that's what the Jewish people are here for. So in other words, the Torah has two purposes. One purpose is to elevate the Jews, and the other one is to elevate the world. The Torah that was given on Sinai, that's spoken about in this week's Torah portion, is talking about elevating the Jews, revealing godliness in the world to the Jews. And the Torah that Moses was repeated, the 10 Commandments that Moses repeated, is the same 10 Commandments, but that's an additional power of the 10 Commandments, and it empowered us to do the same thing, to refine not just ourselves, but the whole world around us. And we see to a certain degree that this is, what does it mean to refine the world? To put the values of Torah into the world. Don't kill, don't steal, don't commit adultery, don't commit sexual crimes, don't lie, don't cheat, don't even have lust, don't desire. It's the last of the 10 Commandments. You're not even supposed to have lust for your fellow things that your fellow man owns. You're not supposed to have desire. These things are very difficult. And there's also all the monetary laws about not stealing and not kidnapping and not lying and not cheating and not what it means. Those are relevant to the whole world. And by a Jew acting properly wherever he is in a way which is acceptable to the people that are there, but still advertising that you are a Jew and you're doing these things because you are a Jew, so that brings stability to the whole world. Listen, in America, in the whole world, especially in America, maybe the whole world is this, is what's called the Judeo-Christian heritage. Judeo-Christian heritage. And there's people in America that they're trying to be anti-Semitic, right? They're trying to the anti-Semitic. They bring all sorts of bizarre, proofs or whatever that that the Jews are not good people and the Jews are evil and the Jews are can't be trusted and the Jews they think that they're superior to everybody and the Jews are this. The old things that have been going for already 3,000 years. These things have been saying about the Jews. They bring about. So on the other hand, there's other people, non-Jews, that say, "What are you talking about? Here in America, we have the Judeo-Christian heritage. You know what that means, the Judeo-Christian heritage? Without the Judeo part, there's no Christian heritage. In the Gospels, right, in the book, there's no don't kill, don't steal, don't commit adultery, right? It doesn't say you're not supposed to commit adultery. Nothing wrong with homosexuality, nothing wrong with rape, nothing wrong with it. It doesn't say anything bad about these things. Nothing, right? Something you're supposed to not do. All these laws come from the Torah. That's the Judeo part of the Judeo-Christian heritage. Without that, there's no right and wrong. There's just you have to believe in this person, and if you do wrong, so you believe in this person, and that cures you up. So they can learn different things and different ideas, but still, the Torah is what gave the conscience right, absolute right and wrong to the world. And all the others, they take these things from the world, right? They take these things from either there's a lot of just common sense, but things that are based on common sense. So there comes another person who's got a different common sense, and he contradicts this common sense. But if the Torah says absolute laws, so if a Jew is in the world and people see a Jew really holds by his principles, I know we had a yeshiva, I know a lot of people from South Africa. So South Africans in general used to be run, exclusively by the Afrikaans. And the Afrikaans are very, very bigoted people. They don't like anyone that's not an Afrikaans, especially if you're not a pure white person. Everything. But in the army, there was a lot of, we had a yeshiva, so there were a lot of boys. They were in the army, and they said the Afrikaans, they hate Jews. They hate Jews, but a religious Jew they have respect for. A religious Jew they have respect for. That's for. I think that's the way it used to be, at least with the Arabs, with the Muslims. They had respect for a religious Jew. The Hamas hasn't got respect for anything. They just murdered everybody. But generally speaking, a person that has principles and he lives courageously according to those principles, and the principles are Judaism, so that has an effect on the world. That was given to us in the second tablet. When not the second tablet. Sorry, that was given to us when Moses explained the Torah to the Jews as they went into Egypt, as they went into Israel. That's the second explanation, the second 10 commandments. That's what I meant to say. Okay, here we are. Tachli Shlemos. So, can we do this? Okay. In other words, that by means of the second 10 commandments that Moses explained, is revealed the completion of the purpose of the first time that the 10 commandments were explained. This week's Torah portion. So the 10 commandments were only given once, but why was it explained differently when Moses went in? Because it gave an additional power. It gave the power of Yadaber Elokim Lemor to every single Jew, that every single Jew would be able to lay more to say words of Torah, that learning the Torah of a Jew at any time, in any place, would be the word of God, really, that Moses spoke on Mount Sinai, that God spoke to Moses on Mount Sinai. And by means of this, there would be an effect in the world, just like Mahalan, Im of Vayira Rasazazia, just like when the Torah was given, it was given in awe and fear and trembling, trepidation. Also, the same thing will be now, really, in the physical world. We can feel this oneness of God in the world. According to this, we said, okay, this is what we got up to yesterday. Now we can explain also the connection between the time when we read Parshat Yitro, in other words, this year, we're reading it on the 20th day of the 11th month. 20th day of the 11th month. Let me just check a calendar over here and see when we're reading it. Let me have I think this calendar that I have is wrong. Give me a second. 1 minute. That was the one the Rebbe was saying. Okay, by us, it's not so. By us, it's not so. By us, it's the 17th. Okay. But the principles that the Rebbe is elucidating are the same. This is by then when the Rebbe was speaking, the Shabbat, when they were reading this Torah portion of Yisrael, it was the 20th day of the Hebrew month. The Hebrew month is Shvat, and that's the 11th month of the Jewish year. This is okay. This is 10 days. But in our case, it's only 7 days. 10 days after Yud Shvat, which Yud Shvat is the day of the passing away of the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, who was the leader of our generation. This Shabbat, that from it is blessed all the days, and the days that come in Ayomim Aboim, the last Shabbat, it blessed all of the days that came afterwards, including this coming Shabbat, which is going to be the 17th, including the days, the 20th day, including the 22nd day of Shabbat. Now, the 22nd day of Shvat was the day that the Rebbe's wife, the Lubavitcher Rebbe's wife, passed away. That's the day she passed away. It was in 1988. She passed away. This is Kav Beit Shvat, the day of the passing away of the daughter of the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. So the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, he passed away in the 10th day of Shvat in 1950, and his daughter, who was the wife of our Rebbe, passed away on the 22nd day of Shvat in 1988. 1988. Okay. So all of this happens near in proximity to the giving of the Shabbat, the giving of the Torah. I'm sorry, when the Torah was given. Parshat Yitro. The 11th month of the year, this is attached to what it says, 11 days Michorev. Okay, this we talked about this last week. Moses chastises the Jewish people in the beginning of the book of Deuteronomy. So he chastises the Jewish people. He said, after we received the Torah, right? The Jews received the Torah 50 days after they left Egypt. After they received the Torah, as it was a journey of only, they camped around the where they received the Torah. They camped around there in that place where they were in Midbar Sinai for almost a year. They camped, and then they moved. Okay, then they moved. So it says when they started moving, the Jews started moving. It was really only 11 days from where they were to Israel. 11 days journey. And in fact, God made that journey in 3 days. He shortened the way for them, 3 days. 3 days, that's shortened the way. And then they got up to the edge of Israel, and the Jewish people said, we don't want to go in. We don't want to go in. We don't refuse to go in. And God said, oh, you don't want to go in? Okay, so you won't go in. And therefore, you're going to wander around in the desert for 40 years. So it was really an 11th-day journey. Chorev is Mount Sinai. There's an 11-day journey from Mount Sinai, and God made it for you for 3 days. You got up to the edge of Israel. You were about to go in, and you refused. It took you 40 years. Okay, but nevertheless, it says 11 days. It was an 11-day journey from Chorev. Now, if you remember last week, the Rebbe went into a very deep and encompassing discourse about the number 11. And how it is that the number 11 is one more than 10. So what? So 10 is the number of creation, basically. There's and also the Torah. 10 is the 10 commandments. 10 is the 10 utterances that God created the world with. Let there be light, let there be this. 10 is the 10 sfirot, God's 10 aspect that he creates the world constantly with. God's sfirot. That's the number 10. The number 11 is the one that's above them. God is the creator of the world. God is the creator of the 10 sfirot. God is the one who gave the Torah. So that's the number 11. Shekai, this is talking about, refers to the Miyuchad Shebeser, the special, the unique one of the 10, which is the one which is the head of all of the 10 commandments. Anochi, God gave the 10 commandments, and he started off with the word I am God, your God, that took you out of Egypt. First of the 10 commandments. That's the Anochi, the I, that is the 11th day from Chorev. Chorev is the giving of the Torah. This refers to the number 11, which is above the 10 commandments which were given at Chorev. 11, there's the number 1, which is above. Ad bechinas antu below b'chushban. This is the essence of God, which is called one, but not a numerical one. God is one, and there's no other than God. There's no God and something else. The Darga Teketa, this is what's called the level of crown. We just learned about that in Torah Or. This was above all the 10 sefirot until it reaches the God's essence, Shalamayel, which is above the whole entire creation, above spiritual, above preparation for spiritual, above. So the essence of God, true, infinite reality. In fact, even more, the source of true, infinite reality, the essence of God. We have no possibility of understanding what this is, but here we are. God is this God that we can't understand is creating us. So that's the number 11, is never to forget about the Creator, never to forget that the Torah is being given right now by God. Never to take anything at face value. That's this 11th month that we're talking about. That's the power to see the one God and everything. Okay, so if we have the 10th day of the month, that's the day that the previous Rebbe passed away. We have the 22nd day of the month. That's the day that his daughter, the Rebbe's wife, passed away. It says that in the 11th of the month itself, there is the day of the passing away of the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. This is the 10th day, namely how it is revealed. The number 11, the 10th month, the 11th month, the 11, into the number 10, which is the world. Right? That's just, we've just finished learning in Torah Or, to reveal the essence of God in the details of the world. That's what we said, the 10 commandments. This is in addition to the 11 on its own, which is also the 10, which is before it. 11 includes in the 10. So this is all of the power, drawing down all of the surrounding aspects of God, God's crown, even into the 10 inner powers of the world. And even higher, drawing down God's essence into the physical world. So that it'll be drawing unification of the first 10 commandments to the second 10 commandments, like we said before, that Moses explained the 10 commandments in a way that it was relevant to the world. Okay, like we said before, though, what happens when God is revealed in the world? What happens when God is revealed in the world? we talked about this before, but it's like the difference between a person being healthy and a person being not healthy. What's the difference between a healthy person and a not healthy person? Right? A not healthy person, he's weak, he can't think properly, he can't speak, his eyes don't work, his ears don't work, his tongue doesn't work, it just doesn't work. He's got no appetite, he has no motivation, he has no this, but he's a person. He's got a soul, he's alive, you can't kill him, right? He's a person, but he's just sick. He's just sick, and because he's sick, he can't get interested in anything, and he's not really excited about anything, and he's sick, but he's there. He's there. There's people that even imagine it, hypochondriacs, that put themselves, no, I can't, I'm sick, I can't move, I'm so miserable, I can't do that, sick person, right? Sick. What's a person that's healthy? Exactly the same person, but just everything works. Everything works. That's what happens when God is revealed in the world. That's what happens. The big difference, though, is we know what a healthy person is. We've seen healthy people. We know what the difference between healthy and sick is. Yeah, a person doesn't feel good, goes to the doctor, he tries to make you healthy. But we don't know what the healthy world is. We don't know how the world is really supposed to be. The world is sick, and it's been sick for thousands of years, especially since the temple was destroyed. And even when the temple was here, the Jews didn't appreciate it. It doesn't mean that God gave up on the Jews, but it means he's terribly disappointed. That's what all the prophets say. That's why he scared us around. So the idea of Moshiach is supposed to be that he brings the Jews back to health. He brings healthiness back to the Jews, right? makes the world healthy again. That's the idea of the 11. Number 11 means revealing the oneness of God in the 10 commandments, in the 10 utterances, in the world. We can say that this is also, and this was accomplished by the second time that Moses talked about the 10 commandments to bring godliness into the world. We can say that this is like the novelty of the first Divoros Rishon, when God gave the first 10 commandments, and that's the number of Echad Asar. And after it was said by Moses saying the 10 commandments by means of Moses. Now we're not talking about the broken tablets of the tablets. The broken tablets were the same thing as the first. There's different opinions that say that Moses was talking about the broken tablets, but generally it's not the opinion. Generally, the first tablets and second tablets said exactly the same thing. But Moses, when he repeated what was written on those tablets, he said something different because Moses was implying somehow or other how to get this, the oneness of God into the 10 utterances of creation, even more into the 10 utterances of the 10 commandments, so that we would feel godliness in everything. We could bring it into the world. Okay, especially when Parshat Yitro, that we're reading this whole idea in the Torah, which contains the 10 commandments. Like it says, V'yedaber Elokim, it's called that God spoke all these words to say. What does it mean? That to say means it's a blessing on its, and before, when we read this in the Torah, and we make a blessing before it and afterwards, that then God reads, says the Torah, and reads opposing us, in other words, together with us, even more and more, with more yeter seit mot oz, even with more power and with more, how you say, the strength. How much more so than if you learn this in the Torah the whole rest of the year? We read it in the Torah and Shabbat. So therefore, when the 20th day of the month, of the 11th month, like say the Rebbe, when he was speaking the Shabbat, he was speaking on the Shabbat of Yitro when they read. So that Shabbat was the 20th day of the month. By us, it's only going to be the 17th day of the month. But nevertheless, this 20th day of the 11th month is going to come. And 20 is the numerical value of Keter. 20 is the numerical value of Keter. How was this before? Of Keter. Hainu Dargat Echad Asar. And this is Keter. Here we see Keter is 620, and Esrim is 500. Shin Resh is 500, and 550, 500, and add in number 70 is 620. The same thing. Esrim is the numerical value of Keter. That's the crown. Namely, this is the level of the crown of God. That's the number 1, which rides over the 10 sefirot, this Keter. Okay, so what's the Rebbe trying to point out? The Rebbe is trying to point out he's not just trying to impress us with his, parlor games and making gematrias and things like that. The Rebbe is trying to show that something which is higher and more real than the world is being revealed in the world, and is hinted at by these different numerical values and gematrias and things like that, just to let us know that there is something more real than the world, that God is more real than the world is. And when God is revealed in the world, then the world becomes, consequently, the world becomes more real. It becomes more, alive, more dynamic, more healthy. From this, we come afterwards to what's called the 21st day of the month. That's called Ach Tov Yisrael, namely the 11th day from the 10th day of the month. And that is the day before Kaf Beit Chodesh. Kaf Beit, which that's double 11. Bach Yivachar Yisrael. So the day that the Rebbe's wife passed away was 22. 22 is 2 times 11. We just spoke about the specialness of the number 11, showing that it is possible and necessary to reveal one in the 10 commandments. In the 10 commandments, the 10 utterances. So 22 is 2 times that. That corresponds to also the 22 letters of the Torah. That by means of this is drawn down all of these blessings that we talked about before. We also can add on the connection between Mishpatim. Mishpatim is going to be next week. That we begin to read in the Mincha prayer of this coming Shabbat. What is Mishpatim? All right, so what is the Rebbe trying to do? The Rebbe is trying to make us aware of the closeness of God and how God wants to be revealed in this world. That this world should become a real world. And that's by means of the Torah, and especially how Moses repeated the Torah before they went into the land of Israel to reveal the Torah in the world. That's the number 11, to reveal the one in the 10, the one God in the 10 utterances that he created the world with. So the Rebbe, that this also is hinted at, everything is hinted at in the Torah. And the Torah is the means to bring this oneness into the world. So next week's Torah portion, which we begin to read in the Mincha of this week's Torah portion, next week's Torah portion is Mishpatim. Mishpatim are individual laws, more and more laws. They're revealed. How many laws are there? 50 something, 70 something, I forget the number. How many are revealed in next week's Torah portion? How many laws? Okay. So these are the laws. Let me see if I can find it over here. Is it over here? Here it is. Give me one moment. Next week, we'll learn about these laws. How many laws are there in next week's Torah portion? Here it is. Yeah, 53 commandments, next week's Torah portion. It says, Elu Mishpatim, these are the laws and statutes and the decrees that you should put before them. Rabbis say, why is this Torah portion of Mishpatim right after the giving of the Torah, the 10 commandments? It says, just like the 10 commandments were from Mount Sinai, also these laws, these are damage laws, and if a person steals a cow, a person damages somebody else's cow, these are just like these, the first laws, the 10 commandments were from Mount Sinai. Also, these laws were also from Mount Sinai. Hainu, Shekama mitzvahs, also the intellectual, the understandable commandments are also given on Mount Sinai. As you read it, according to Judaism, if you steal somebody's cow and you slaughter the cow and you slaughter it, then you get caught, so you have to repay the person 4 times, 5 times for the cow, 5 times, right? 5 times for the cow. Why do you have to pay 5? Because that's what it says in the Torah. That's a law in the Torah. Okay, that's a law. Moses made up a bunch of laws, right? He says, no. The same God that spoke on Mount Sinai and everybody's souls jumped out of their bodies, that said, don't worship any other gods and keep the Shabbat. Those are like really heavy religious commandments. Also, God, the same God, said all these, surprisingly detailed and mundane laws about damages, and if you steal somebody's cow, if you steal somebody's sheep, God really cares about those little things. Those are the laws instituted by the rabbis, right? No, they're not. Those are laws which are instituted by God, who's creating you right now. They revealed himself on Mount Sinai. Hey, Sinai, they're from Mount Sinai, from God's essence. Like it says, B'diuk, exactly like the first 10 commandments are from Mount Sinai. Like it says, the same thing is just like at Mount Sinai, everybody was shaking and trembling. So now, when you learn these laws, this reveals in a way of ve'ela. These are the commandments. The Eila means you're pointing to something. You should tasim lifnechem. They should feel the godliness in even the most mundane laws of damages, you should put this in front of the Jewish people. God said to Moses, God said to Moses, Lo ta'ale al datcha, don't think, Lomar, to say, Asheneleim, I'll teach these laws once or twice or three times, and then and then they can figure it out themselves. I don't have to explain the reasons. It's enough time and trouble to explain, just to say what the laws are to the Jewish people. God said to Moses, don't think that way. Ubafrat, since that the Torah is above understanding and grasping, so Moses, just tell the people what the laws are and say, do it. You don't have to understand it, just do the laws. Don't ask questions. No, don't do that. It says you have to lifneim, you have to put the laws in front of them. Therefore, it says, Asher tamsim lifneim. God said, these laws that I'm telling you, you have to explain the laws to the Jews. Like a set table that's already ready to be eaten. Every time a person wants the law, he doesn't have to look through the whole Talmud or look, maybe make up his own interpretations. That also you have to explain also the reasons for everything. You have to give to the Jewish people the inside, the laws have to be ready to be used. And to add, like what the Rishalmi says, that the word tasim, these are the laws you should put in front of them. Tasim, the word tasim also means like a treasure. Lashon sima ba'otzer, like a treasure, a storehouse of treasure. Shagama otzros shabatorah, that the treasures of the Torah, the inside of the Torah, and the concealed things, which is concealed with that's connected with the inside of God. Also, you have to tell the Jewish people. You have to explain them also the secrets of the Torah as well. Okay, so what's the Rebbe talking about? The Torah was given pure godliness to the Jewish people. And Moses explained it before they went in to Israel, saying that that's not all that there is to the Torah. The Torah is also to be used in the world, to change the world and improve it. That's what the 10 Commandments are for. And God said, I got a lot more laws for you. Laws, little details of the laws. You wouldn't imagine how many details there are in the Torah. And these laws are as important as the 10 Commandments, and you have to teach them to the Jewish people and explain it to them. Because when I want to be revealed in the world, I want the world to be revealed exactly the way that I want it. And that's what the idea of the Torah is, and that's what we're going to talk about, God willing, tomorrow.